September 14, 1999, 2:47 a.m. Beneath the shattered remains of St. Wojciech Cathedral, occupied Poland, 20 meters underground where Nazi occultists carved runes into frozen stone. The ritual circle explodes. Not outward, inward. Reality folds like wet paper. 12 SS officers in ceremonial robes stumble backward, their chanting dying in their throats. Major Hans Gunch drops his leather journal, pages scattering across blood-soaked floors. The gateway they'd spent 6 months opening, the doorway meant to summon the realm of war gods, tears itself apart. Something is coming through. But it's coming the wrong direction. Gunch's mind races through possibilities. Dimensional breach, failed binding ritual, corrupted summoning sigils. Every explanation evaporates when he sees the hand. Scarred, massive, wrapped in chains that burn with impossible heat. Then the rest emerges. The temperature drops so fast Gunch's breath crystallizes midair. His legs refuse commands to run. Sweat freezes against his collar. Behind him, Officer Strasser vomits. Someone screams. The sound cuts off wetly. The figure rises slowly from the smoking crater, not like something summoned, but like something escaped. An old man, bald, covered in white ash and faded red tattoos that seem older than empires. His beard is gray. His eyes are dead. No. Worse than dead. Exhausted. Gunch forces words through chattering teeth. What are you? The stranger doesn't answer immediately. He looks down at his hands, at the twin blades now manifesting from chains wrapped around his forearms. Hellfire drips from the metal. The stone floor hisses and melts. When he finally speaks, his voice sounds like grinding tombstones. I was going home. Home, Gunch laughs, high-pitched and broken. You fell through our gateway, you came when we called. You will serve the stranger's eyes lift. Gunch's words die. There's nothing human in that gaze. Nothing divine either. Just an emptiness so profound it swallows light. These are the eyes of something that killed its way out of hell itself and found no peace on the other side. I have served enough gods, the stranger says quietly. I have served enough wars. He takes one step forward, just one. The nearest officer ignites. No warning, no scream, just ash and the smell of cooked meat. I am done serving. Panic detonates. Officers scramble for exits. The stranger doesn't chase them, doesn't rush. He walks with the terrible patience of an avalanche, inevitable, unstoppable, already in motion before you even knew the mountain was cracking. The blades of chaos whisper through the air. Bodies fall like cut wheat. 4 hours later, British Hellsing investigators arrive to find the cathedral transformed into an abattoir, vampires crucified on their own weapons, Nazi corpses arranged with ritualistic precision, blood frozen mid-drip. And in the center, kneeling among the carnage like a penitent before an altar of his own making, the Ghost of Sparta, still breathing, still mortal, still trying not to become the monster again. But London is drowning in shadows, and monsters always recognize their own. September 14, 1999, 2:47 a.m. Deep beneath St. Wojciech Cathedral in occupied Poland, the air tastes like copper and ozone. 20 meters of frozen earth separate this place from the world above. Down here, 12 SS officers stand in a perfect circle, their ceremonial robes stained with ritual blood. Candles flicker. Ancient runes carved into stone walls pulse with sickly green light. Major Hans Gunch stands at the circle's edge, leather journal clutched in both hands. His fingers trace the words he's read 1,000 times. 6 months of preparation. 6 months of dead ends and failed experiments. Tonight, everything changes. Tonight, Millennium opens the gateway to the realm of war gods. He thinks about the Major's words from yesterday. Find me a weapon that even Alucard would fear. Gunch believes he's found it. The chanting grows louder, Latin mixed with something older, words that predate Rome, predate Christianity, predate mercy itself. The temperature drops, breath becomes visible. Ice crystals spread across the stone floor like spider webs. Officer Strasser glances at Gunch, sweat freezing against his temples despite the cold. His mouth forms a question he's too afraid to voice. Gunch nods once, continue. The ritual circle flares brilliant white. Reality screams. But something goes wrong. The gateway doesn't open outward like a door. It collapses inward like a wound. The chanting dies in 12 throats simultaneously. Gunch's journal slips from his fingers, pages scattering. The runes don't just glow anymore, they burn, carving themselves deeper into stone with sounds like grinding teeth. The center of the circle begins folding. Not breaking, not cracking. Folding. Space bends like wet paper crushed in an invisible fist. The air warps. Gunch's vision doubles, triples, fragments into kaleidoscope horror. He sees dozens of realities stacked on top of each other, worlds where the cathedral never fell, where Germany won the war, where monsters never existed, where God still walked among men. Then he sees the hand. It punches through the dimensional membrane like a fist through rotten cloth. Scarred, massive, knuckles wrapped in strips of ancient leather. And the chains, oh God, the chains wrapped around the forearm, links burning with heat that shouldn't exist, each one carved with symbols that hurt to look at. The hand closes into a fist. Reality tears wider. Gunch's legs lock. He wants to run, needs to run. His brain sends the command, but his body refuses. Behind him, Strasser makes a wet choking sound. Someone screams. The sound cuts off with a meaty crunch as the officer collapses, blood pouring from his nose and ears. The figure pulls itself through. Not climbs, not emerges. Drags. Like something escaping from the bottom of an ocean trench. Like something that fought its way through layers of hell just to claw back toward the surface. The gateway splits completely. The dimensional wound births something impossible into their reality. An old man rises from the smoking crater. Bald, covered in white ash that clings to his skin like funeral paint. Red tattoos spiral across his torso. Faded now, ancient, but still radiating power that makes Gunch's teeth ache. The man's beard is gray and braided with small bones. His muscles are scarred tissue laid over scarred tissue, a living map of violence stretching back decades. But it's the eyes that destroy Gunch's last thread of composure. Dead eyes. No. Worse than dead. Exhausted. These are the eyes of something that has seen the end of worlds and found no poetry in the apocalypse. Eyes that watched gods die begging. Eyes that witnessed civilizations burn and felt nothing but tired relief when the screaming finally stopped. The stranger looks down at his hands. His fingers curl slowly, testing, remembering. Twin blades manifest from the chains wrapped around his forearms, curved swords that drip literal hellfire onto the stone floor. Where the flames touch, rock melts. The air fills with the smell of sulfur and burning bone. Gunch forces words through chattering teeth. His voice sounds small in the cathedral's vastness. What are you? The stranger doesn't answer immediately. He stares at the blades like they're old friends he prayed he'd never see again. His jaw clenches. His breathing slows. When he finally lifts his gaze, Gunch feels his bladder threaten to release. I was going home. The voice sounds like grinding tombstones, like tectonic plates shifting beneath dying civilizations. Each word carries weight that shouldn't fit inside human language. Home, Gunch's laugh cracks in the middle, high-pitched and broken. His mind grasps for control, for protocol, for anything that makes sense. You fell through our gateway, you came when we called. You will serve the Reich. You will serve Millennium, you will. The stranger's eyes lift to meet his. Gunch's words die. There's nothing human in that gaze, nothing divine either. No rage, no hatred, just an emptiness so profound it swallows light itself. These are the eyes of something that killed its way out of hell, not because it wanted to, but because it had no choice. Eyes that have stared into the abyss so long they've become the abyss looking back. I have served enough gods, the stranger says quietly. He takes one step forward. The nearest officer, Weber, 32 years old, father of two, ignites. No warning, no scream. His body flash converts to ash and the greasy smell of cooked meat. His ceremonial robe crumples empty to the floor. I have served enough wars. Another step. Another officer burns. I am done serving. Panic detonates like a grenade in an enclosed space. Officers scramble for the exits. Boots slip on blood-slicked stone. Strasser reaches the stairs first, taking them 3 at a time. Gunch follows, journal forgotten, rank forgotten, dignity forgotten. Behind them, the stranger doesn't chase, doesn't rush, doesn't need to. He walks with the terrible patience of an avalanche. Inevitable, unstoppable, already in motion before you even knew the mountain was cracking. The blades of chaos whisper through the air. The sound is almost gentle, like silk sheets sliding across skin, like a lover's final breath. Bodies fall. Gunch reaches the top of the stairs, lungs burning, legs screaming. He risks one look back. The stranger stands in the center of the carnage, flames casting his shadow across vaulted ceilings. 12 bodies arranged in a perfect circle around him, not scattered, not random, but placed with ritualistic precision. Blood pools beneath religious statues, painting martyred saints with fresh crimson tears. And the stranger kneels. Not in victory, not in triumph. In disgust. Like a man forced to butcher animals he never wanted to harm. Like someone who remembers every name, every face, every scream, and will carry them forever. Gunch runs. September 14, 1999, 7:23 a.m. The Hellsing Organization helicopter touches down 200 meters from St. Wojciech Cathedral's ruins. Morning light filters through heavy clouds, turning everything gray and lifeless. Walter C. Dornes steps out first, his wire reel already in hand. Behind him, a team of 6 armed investigators fan out in practiced formation. Captain Bernadotte's voice crackles through the radio. We've got reports of approximately 40 casualties, Millennium personnel. The locals are calling it divine judgment. Walter adjusts his monocle, scanning the cathedral's broken spire. How quaint. They find the first body 50 meters from the entrance. Vampire, Millennium-class artificial. Its head has been removed with surgical precision and frozen solid. Ice crystals still cling to the ragged neck stump. Walter kneels, examining the wound. The cut is clean, impossibly clean for something done in the heat of combat. This wasn't rage, he murmurs. This was technique. They find 17 more bodies before reaching the cathedral doors. All vampires, all frozen, all arranged in pairs facing the entrance like guards who failed their final duty. Someone took the time to position them, to make a statement. I was here, I did this, remember. The cathedral's interior is worse. Bodies hang from stone walls, impaled on their own weapons. Blood covers religious statues, Christ weeping crimson, Mary drowning in red, the saints baptized in violence. Strange runes glow faintly beside each corpse, symbols that hurt Walter's eyes when he tries to focus on them. Sir, one of the investigators points upward with a shaking hand. The ceiling. More bodies, suspended by chains that shouldn't support their weight, arranged in constellations that form no pattern Walter recognizes. Except, no, there is a pattern. They spell words in a language that predates Latin. Walter's mind translates automatically, then wishes it hadn't. I did not want this. Jesus Christ, Bernadotte whispers through the radio. I don't think he's listening anymore, Walter replies. They descend the stairs to the ritual chamber. The temperature drops with each step. Frost coats the walls. Their breath becomes visible clouds. At the bottom, the carnage reaches its crescendo. 12 SS officers arranged in a perfect circle, their bodies positioned exactly where they stood during the ritual. Death caught them mid-chant. And in the center, an old warrior kneels among the dead. Bald, covered in white ash, red tattoos spiraling across scarred skin, his head bowed like a penitent before an altar. Twin blades rest across his knees, curved sword still faintly smoking, chains wrapped around his forearms disappearing into his flesh. He doesn't move when they enter, doesn't acknowledge their presence, just kneels in the silence, breathing slowly, rhythmically, like someone meditating, or praying, or trying desperately to remember who he used to be before the killing started. Walter signals the team to hold position. He approaches alone, wire reel ready but not deployed. 20 meters, 15, 10. The stranger's eyes open. Walter stops. Those eyes carry something worse than hatred, worse than madness. They carry weariness so profound it makes Walter's century of service feel like a summer afternoon. These are eyes that have seen the heat death of pantheons, that watched immortals beg for mercy that never came. "Who are you?" Walter asks. The stranger's voice is quiet, almost gentle. "Someone who wanted to go home." "Where is home?" A pause. The stranger looks down at his hands, at the blades, at the chains, at the blood staining his palms. "I don't remember anymore." September 15, 1999, 11:47 p.m. Integra Hellsing sits behind her desk in the war room, cigar smoke curling toward the ceiling. Reports cover every surface: witness statements, forensic analysis, satellite imagery, all of it pointing to the same impossible conclusion. One man killed 40 Millennium operatives in under 4 hours. Not a vampire, not a ghoul, not even a regenerator. A man. Walter stands at attention near the door, wire reel clicking softly as he tests the tension. Sierra's Victoria shifts nervously in the corner, her vampire senses screaming warnings her conscious mind can't quite articulate. "He's downstairs," Integra says, not looking up from the reports. "In the holding cell, Alucard is, observing." "Should I be concerned?" Walter asks. Alucard is fascinated. Integra crushes her cigar in the crystal ashtray. "That concerns me more than anything." She stands, straightening her suit jacket. The walk to the lower levels feels longer than usual. Each step echoes in the stone corridors. Medieval architecture presses down with centuries of weight. They reach the holding cell, reinforced steel, blessed silver lining, holy water in the sprinkler system. Every precaution Hellsing uses for Eld. Vampires. The stranger sits cross-legged in the center, chains pooled around him like sleeping serpents. His eyes are closed. His breathing is measured. He looks like a monk in meditation. Or a weapon in standby mode. Integra approaches the glass. "My name is Sir Integra Fairbrook Wingates Hellsing. You are in my facility, in my country, and you will answer my questions." The stranger's eyes open slowly. "I don't serve anymore." "You killed 40 of my enemy's soldiers. That implies you're already serving someone." "I killed them because they summoned me, because they tried to bind me, because they were in my way." His voice remains perfectly calm, perfectly empty. "If you stand in my way, I will kill you too." Walter's wire reel hums. Sierra's hand moves toward her cannon. Integra raises one hand, stopping them both. She leans closer to the glass, studying this impossible creature. Her mind catalogs details. No regeneration factor. Wounds on his knuckles still healing slowly. No hypnotic aura. No supernatural compulsion. No immortal arrogance. Just tired mortality wrapped in divine violence. You're not supernatural, she says slowly. Not by our standards. No. But you carry divine energy, primordial magic, power that predates modern faith. Yes. And you can die. The stranger's expression doesn't change. Everyone can die. Some of us just take longer. Integra feels her pulse quicken. This is the answer she's been searching for since reading the reports. This is why every instinct screams danger. Alucard is immortal, unstoppable, but immortality breeds carelessness. When you can't die, you stop valuing survival. You start playing games. This creature can die. Knows he can die. And still killed 40 trained operatives without breaking stride. That kind of focused lethality terrifies her more than any vampire's regeneration. "What's your name?" she asks. The stranger is silent for a long moment. When he finally speaks, his voice carries the weight of destroyed civilizations. Kratos. From the shadows in the corner, Alucard's laughter echoes, low, delighted, hungry. Oh, this is going to be fun. September 18th, 1999, 3:14 a.m. The abandoned monastery sits 12 kilometers outside London, forgotten by time and faith alike. Crumbling stone walls, shattered stained glass windows, pews rotting beneath decades of neglect. Tonight it serves a darker purpose. Millennium launched a reconnaissance strike 3 hours ago. 20 ghouls, 5 vampires. Standard probing attack designed to test Hellsing's response time. They're all dead now. Bodies litter the monastery floor like discarded toys. Some are frozen solid, ice crystals spreading across gray flesh. Others have been burned so completely that only ash outlines remain, permanent shadows seared into ancient stone. A few hang from rafters, impaled on weapons that shouldn't exist in this century, blades that still drip hellfire onto the flagstones below. Moonlight streams through broken windows, cutting the darkness into silver fragments. Kratos kneels in the center of the carnage, cleaning blood from his axe with methodical precision. The Leviathan axe gleams frostwhite in his hands, runes along the blade pulsing with cold blue light. He wipes each edge carefully, thoroughly, as if this ritual of maintenance matters more than the violence that preceded it. His breathing is steady, measured, like someone completing a routine task, washing dishes, folding laundry, disposing of monsters that tried to kill him. The temperature drops another 10 degrees. Shadows in the corner begin moving wrong, not cast by objects but creating objects, reality bending to accommodate something that doesn't belong in the physical world. The darkness deepens, thickens, takes shape. Alucard materializes like cancer spreading across healthy tissue. Red coat, wide-brimmed hat, orange-tinted glasses reflecting flames that aren't there. His presence fills the monastery with predatory weight, the psychic pressure of apex predator recognizing potential prey. Lesser creatures would already be on their knees, minds shattered by proximity to something so thoroughly other. Kratos continues cleaning his axe. Doesn't look up, doesn't acknowledge, doesn't care. Alucard's smile widens slowly, showing too many teeth. Well, the famous Ghost of Sparta, I've been dying to meet you. Silence. Kratos examines the axe blade, turns it in the moonlight, checks for imperfections. The strong, silent type, Alucard's voice drips amusement. How refreshingly cliché. Tell me, do you brood professionally, or is this just natural talent? Kratos stands, sliding the Leviathan axe onto his back. The magnetic clamp engages with a soft click. He turns away from Alucard, walking toward the monastery's rear exit. Walking away. Alucard's smile freezes. In 500 years of existence, through countless battles and endless carnage, no one has ever simply dismissed him, feared him, yes, hated him, certainly. Challenged him, occasionally. but to look at the no-life king and decide he's not worth attention. That's new. That's offensive. Did you just— Alucard's voice drops an octave, losing its playful edge. Did you just ignore me? Kratos reaches the exit. His hand touches the door. Alucard's patience shatters like cheap glass. He moves, not walks, not runs, but manifests across the space between them. One moment by the entrance, the next blocking Kratos' path. His casual pistol pressed against Kratos' forehead, hammer already cocked. I'm talking to you, God Killer. Kratos' eyes lift slowly. No fear in that gaze. No anger either. Just tired assessment, like someone calculating the quickest route through an obstacle. Move, Kratos says quietly. Make me. The gunshot echoes through the monastery like thunder in a crypt. Kratos' head snaps back. Blood sprays across ancient stone. The blessed silver bullet, designed to obliterate vampire regeneration, consecrated by the Vatican's finest priests, capable of putting down elder vampires permanently, punches through his skull and exits in a spray of bone and brain matter. Kratos stumbles backward 3 steps. Then stops. Blood pours down his face, pooling in his beard. The wound in his forehead smokes slightly, flesh already beginning the slow, painful process of mortal healing. He reaches up, touches the hole, examines his blood-covered fingers. His expression doesn't change. He looks at Alucard with those empty, exhausted eyes. Move. Alucard's smile returns, but it's different now. Sharper, hungrier. Oh, you're magnificent. Integra didn't mention you were suicidal. He fires again. Chest shot, heart obliterated. Kratos staggers but doesn't fall. Again, lung punctured, still standing. Again, stomach shredded, still advancing. Alucard empties both pistols, 13 blessed rounds total, and Kratos keeps walking forward like a man pushing through a storm. Blood pours from a dozen wounds. His breathing becomes labored, wet. Each step leaves a crimson footprint. But he doesn't stop. Doesn't scream. Doesn't even look particularly bothered. Just tired. So terribly, eternally tired. Fascinating, Alucard whispers, reloading with supernatural speed. You can die, you are dying right now, yet you keep coming. Why? Kratos closes the distance between them. 5 meters, 3, 1. His hand shoots out, fingers closing around Alucard's throat. The no-life king barely has time to register surprise before Kratos lifts, one-handed, casual like hoisting a child, and slams him through the nearest stone pillar. The impact crater spiderwebs across ancient masonry. Dust explodes outward. Alucard's body folds around the broken stone, ribs cracking, spine bending at angles that would kill anything mortal. Alucard laughs. Blood bubbles from his lips, but the laughter continues, genuine delight mixing with pain. Yes, yes, this is what I've been waiting for, someone who actually. Kratos hits him again. No words, no banter, just a fist to the face that sends teeth flying and silences the monologue mid-sentence. The monastery explodes into violence. Not the choreographed elegance of skilled duelists, not the tactical precision of trained soldiers. This is something older, rawer. 2 apex predators fighting with the understanding that only one walks away. Alucard sheds his human pretense like a snake discarding dead skin. Shadows erupt from his body, flooding the monastery floor like oil spreading across water. The darkness births things, familiars, souls consumed across centuries, each one a separate entity of fangs and hunger and hate. Hounds with too many eyes, soldiers from forgotten wars, creatures that never had names in any human language. They swarm Kratos in a tide of gnashing teeth and clawing hands. Kratos doesn't hesitate. The Leviathan axe appears in his grip, not drawn, not summoned, simply there as if it had been waiting all along. He swings in a wide arc and frost detonates outward in a perfect circle. The wave of absolute cold catches the first rank of familiars mid-leap. They freeze instantly. Not slowed, not chilled. Frozen solid, molecules stopped mid-vibration, motion arrested at the atomic level. The flash-frozen constructs topple like statues, shattering on impact with the flagstones. Ice crystals spread across the floor, turning the monastery into a winter hell. But more come. Always more. Alucard learned centuries ago that overwhelming force solves most problems. Throw enough bodies at anything, and eventually it drowns in sheer mass. Vampires, crusaders, armies, gods, they all fall to the same principle eventually. Except Kratos fought his way through Hades itself. The blades of chaos manifest in his left hand, chains unwinding from his forearm with the sound of razors on bone. He spins, not wildly, not desperately, but with the brutal efficiency of someone who's done this exact movement 10,000 times. The blades carve figurates through the familiar swa. RM, hellfire igniting dead flesh so completely that regeneration becomes impossible. Where ice fails, fire succeeds. Where fire fails, ice follows. Kratos fights like weather, inevitable, unstoppable, beyond negotiation. Each movement flows into the next without pause, without wasted energy. The axe freezes. The blades burn. The cycle repeats with mechanical precision. Alucard watches from the shadows, smile fading. He's fought holy warriors before. Anderson's blessed bayonets. The Vatican's elite executioners. Knights who wielded faith like a weapon and conviction like armor. They fought with righteous fury, burning passion, zealous hatred for everything unholy. Kratos fights with nothing. No rage, no joy, no hatred or fear or excitement or even basic satisfaction at violence executed perfectly. Just cold, clinical efficiency, like a butcher processing meat, like a man so deeply exhausted by killing that he's perfected it simply to make it end faster. That's worse than hatred. Hatred can be understood, manipulated, enjoyed. This is just work. You're not even angry, Alucard says, manifesting behind Kratos in a surge of shadow. Both casuals pressed against the back of Kratos' skull. I've killed armies that wanted me dead with every fiber of their being, but you look bored. He fires. Kratos' head snaps forward. Blood and brain matter spray across frozen familiars. For exactly 1 second, Kratos sways. Then the Leviathan axe whips backward without him even turning around, pure muscle memory, instinct honed across lifetimes of combat. The axe blade catches Alucard across the chest, frost exploding on contact. Ice spreads across the vampire's torso, crystallizing blood, freezing tissue solid. Alucard looks down at his frozen chest, then back up at Kratos. You just threw that blind, you didn't even look, you just knew where I'd be. His voice carries something new now, not fear exactly, but recognition. How many fights have you been in? Kratos reaches back. The Leviathan axe flies from Alucard's frozen body into his grip with magnetic certainty. He turns slowly, blood still pouring from the fresh head wound. More than you. The monastery has become a frozen hellscape. Ice and fire war across every surface. Familiar corpses pile like snowdrifts. The walls run with melted frost and vampire ash. Moonlight struggles to penetrate the smoke and steam rising from supernatural combustion. Alucard releases his limits further. More shadows, more familiars, more himself, the true essence beneath the human disguise, the ocean of consumed souls and stolen power. His form becomes fluid, constantly shifting between shapes. Sometimes a man, sometimes a monster, sometimes both, sometimes neither. He flows around Kratos' attacks like water around stone, reforming from wounds that would kill gods, laughing as body parts regenerate faster than they're destroyed. You can't win, Alucard says, his voice coming from everywhere and nowhere. I am Legion, I am Eternity, I am. Kratos grabs him mid-transformation. Not by the throat this time. By the core, the central mass where all the shadows and souls and stolen power originate. His hand plunges wrist-deep into Alucard's chest, fingers closing around something vital, something true. Frost spreads from the contact point. Alucard's regeneration stutters, the familiars flicker, the shadows hesitate. For the first time in 500 years, Alucard feels cold that isn't metaphorical. Impossible, he whispers. You're not holy, not blessed, you can't. I killed the Sisters of Fate, Kratos says quietly, his grip tightening. Ice continues spreading through Alucard's core. I killed the god of war. I killed Zeus himself. I killed death. He pulls Alucard closer, until they're face to face, until those empty, exhausted eyes fill Alucard's entire vision. Do you think your immortality impresses me? Alucard tries to dissolve into shadow, tries to regenerate, tries to escape through any of the 1,000 tricks he's learned across centuries of existence. Nothing works. The ice is spreading, not just physical cold, but something deeper, primordial magic that predates the concept of vampires, power drawn from sources that existed before human faith created holy ground. Kratos lifts Alucard off the ground one-handed, slamming him into the monastery floor. Stone cracks. The impact crater spreads like a spiderweb. He lifts and slams again, and again, and again. Each impact synchronized with his breathing. Calm, measured, rhythmic. Like chopping wood. Alucard's regeneration fights desperately to keep up. Bones shatter and reform. Organs rupture and rebuild. But the ice keeps spreading, slowing the process, making each recovery take longer than the last. And through it all, Kratos' expression never changes. No satisfaction, no anger, no triumph. Just tired necessity. Finally, Kratos stops. He lifts Alucard's broken body, holding the Vampire King at arm's length. His grip shifts to Alucard. Artie's throat, not crushing, not killing, just holding, keeping him immobile, keeping him present. I know what you are, Kratos says quietly. Alucard tries to laugh, but blood fills his mouth. Oh, and what's that? A creature who mistakes suffering for purpose. The words hit harder than any physical blow. Alucard's smile finally, completely dies. You've consumed how many souls? Thousands. Tens of thousands, Kratos continues, his voice empty of judgment. Just observation, just fact. You collect suffering like treasure. You drown in blood and call it meaning. You've existed for centuries doing nothing but causing pain and experiencing pain, and you think that makes you profound. And you're different, Alucard spits blood. You who destroyed pantheons, who left entire civilizations in ashes, you dare lecture me about. I regret every death. 4 words spoken simply, without emphasis, without drama. But they silence Alucard completely. Every single death. Kratos' grip doesn't tighten, but somehow his presence grows heavier. I remember their names, their faces, the sounds they made when they died. I carry them all, every god, every soldier, every innocent caught between me and my vengeance. They haunt me, they should haunt me. He leans closer, until their faces are inches apart. You've turned your victims into power. You've made their suffering into your strength. You don't regret them. You consume them. You've built yourself from stolen agony and convinced yourself its nobility. Alucard stares at him, something fundamental cracking behind his eyes. You're not a monster, Kratos says. Monsters don't choose. You became this willingly. You embraced it, and you've spent centuries pretending that makes you special. He drops Alucard onto the frozen floor. The Vampire King lands in a heap, regeneration finally catching up, wounds closing slowly. But he doesn't move, doesn't attack, just lies there staring at nothing. The difference between us, Kratos says, turning away, is that I would give anything to be something other than what I am. You wouldn't give up being a monster for anything." He walks toward the exit. Behind him, Alucard's voice rises, softer than before, missing its usual confidence. "You think restraint makes you better than me?" Kratos stops at the door but doesn't turn around. "No, it just makes me more exhausted." He leaves. The monastery falls silent except for dripping water and settling stone. Alucard lies in the center of the frozen carnage, surrounded by the ashes of his familiars, staring at the cracked ceiling. For the first time in 500 years, he feels something that isn't hunger or boredom or playful sadism. He feels inadequate. A mortal man, bleeding, dying, barely standing, just defeated him psychologically in a way no holy warrior ever managed. Not with faith, not with righteousness, not with conviction. With weariness. With regret. With the simple, terrible truth that suffering doesn't equal meaning. Alucard's laughter echoes through the ruins, but it sounds different now. Hollow, uncertain. Almost confused. He touches his chest where Kratos' hand had been, where frost still lingers like a brand. The ice burns in a way that has nothing to do with temperature. "What are you?" he whispers to the empty air. The monastery offers no answer. Only silence, moonlight, and the slowly melting evidence that something far worse than a monster just walked away. Something that hated being strong. And Alucard cannot comprehend that at all. September 22, 1999, 11:34 p.m. Deep inside Millennium's mobile command center, a retrofitted U-boat drifting somewhere beneath the North Atlantic, the Major sits motionless in his leather chair. Surveillance footage plays across a dozen screens, each one showing the same scene from different angles. The monastery. Kratos destroying Alucard's familiars with mechanical precision. The footage has been playing on loop for 16 hours. The Major hasn't blinked in the last 40 minutes. His gloved fingers drum against the armrest, slow at first, then faster, accelerating with each repetition. His breathing quickens. A thin line of sweat traces down his temple despite the submarine's frigid air conditioning. Behind orange-tinted glasses, his eyes reflect flickering violence like mirrors catching firelight. "Rewind," he whispers. The moment where he freezes, the blood constructs, again. The doctor stands nearby, clipboard clutched in skeletal fingers. He presses a button. The footage jumps backward, replays. Kratos swinging the Leviathan axe in that perfect arc, frost detonating outward, familiars freezing mid-leap. The Major leans forward, lips parting slightly. "Beautiful," he breathes, like watching poetry written in extinction. "He's mortal," the doctor observes, adjusting his spectacles. "Our analysis confirms he can die. Conventional weapons would work given sufficient." "You imbecile," the Major's voice remains soft but so. "Mething dangerous enters it. You're looking at the greatest war machine in human history, and your first thought is how to kill it." The doctor's mouth clicks shut. The Major stands, walking to the central screen. He places one gloved hand against the monitor, fingertips tracing Kratos' outline as the warrior moves through frozen carnage. "Look at him, really look." The Major's voice fills with something approaching religious ecstasy. No hesitation, no wasted movement, no fear, no joy, no life, just pure distilled violence. He fights the way clocks tick, the way gravity pulls, the way entropy consumes. He turns to face the doctor, smile widening. "Do you know what he did before arriving here? According to our occult division's research, he destroyed the entire Greek pantheon. Not defeated, not overthrew, destroyed. Olympus is ash. The gods are corpses. An entire mythology erased because one man decided they offended him. He was manipulated by." "It doesn't matter." The Major's voice rises for the first time, cracking with excitement. "Don't you understand? He killed fate itself. He murdered the concept of destiny. He looked at beings who existed before time had meaning and decided they were just obstacles between him and revenge. The Major turns back to the screens, both hands pressed against the monitors now, trembling slightly. I've spent decades engineering the perfect war, the eternal conflict, the endless dance of violence and death and rebirth, but I never found the perfect soldier. The Vatican's Anderson is too righteous, he wants war to end. Alucard is too bored, he wants war to entertain. But Kratos, his smile becomes transcendent. Kratos fought through hell itself, and the only thing he felt was tired obligation. He doesn't love war. He doesn't hate war. War is just what he does. Breathing, walking, killing gods, all the same automatic function. The doctor shifts uncomfortably. Major, our mission is to destroy the Hellsing organization and... The mission is evolution. The Major spins around, eyes blazing behind orange glass. I don't want Kratos to fight for millennium. I want to unleash what he truly is. Strip away the pretense of restraint, the mask of humanity, the tired old man routine. He pulls a file from his desk, slams it down. Photos spill across the surface, images from Kratos' past, pulled from the dimensional rifts, pieced together through occult research. Burned homes, dead families, a child's corpse wrapped in funeral cloth. Inside him lives the Ghost of Sparta, the man who destroyed civilizations in rage. That's not gone, it's just buried. The Major's fingers caress the photographs like lover's skin. All we need to do is dig it up. How? The Major's smile becomes something inhuman. We remind him what he's lost. We recreate his trauma. We engineer the exact conditions that broke him the first time. He taps one photograph, a little girl with dark hair. We give him something to lose, then we take it away. The doctor's pen scratches notes onto the clipboard. You want to trigger Spartan rage intentionally, in the middle of London. I want to trigger apocalypse. The Major sits back down, fingers resuming their rhythmic drumming. I want to watch the world's greatest monster hunter become the world's greatest monster. I want to prove that beneath every man who hates violence lives a beast who perfects it. He gestures to the screens, where Kratos walks away from the monastery, shoulders slumped, carrying the weight of another battle he never wanted. Look at him, already broken, already exhausted, already one bad day away from becoming exactly what he fears most. The Major lights a cigar, smoke curling around his delighted expression. Let's give him that bad day. September 23, 1999, 4:47 a.m. The Section XIII Iscariot Organization safe house sits disguised as a small parish church in East London. Inside, Father Alexander Anderson kneels before a simple wooden cross, rosary beads clicking through scarred fingers. He's been praying for 3 hours. The words stopped making sense an hour ago. Behind him, the door opens. Enrico Maxwell enters, purple robes rustling, carrying a leather portfolio stamped with Vatican seals. Still praying, Maxwell's voice drips condescension. How quaint. Anderson doesn't turn. When facing something that kills gods, prayer seems appropriate. The Vatican's position is clear. Maxwell drops the portfolio onto the nearest pew. Kratos is to be eliminated. He represents a threat to the natural order. A mortal who has murdered divine beings cannot be allowed to exist. The natural order. Anderson's hands tighten on the rosary until the beads cut into his palms. Tell me, Enrico, when did killing Ares become unnatural? The god of war was a monster. Zeus was a tyrant. The Greek pantheon was corrupt. They were divine. So is Satan. Maxwell's expression freezes. You dare compare. I compare nothing, I observe. Anderson finally sent. Anne's turning to face the younger priest. His eyes carry something Maxwell rarely sees: doubt. I've killed vampires for 30 years, ghouls, demons, false prophets and corrupted priests, Every enemy I've faced was clearly evil, clear targets, clear purpose. He walks to the window, staring out at London's pre-dawn darkness. But Kratos, the reports say he kneels among his victims, that he shows disgust at his own violence, that he fights like a man fulfilling unwanted duty. Anderson's voice drops. What if he's not a monster? What if he's heaven's instrument? Instrument? Maxwell laughs sharply. He killed Zeus, the king of false gods. The words hang in the air like poison. Maxwell steps closer, voice hardening. Father Anderson, the Church's position. The Church's position is that false idols must fall. Anderson turns back to face him. Every pagan deity, every blasphemous pretender to divinity, we've spent 2,000 years erasing them from human consciousness, prayer by prayer, sword by sword. He gestures to the portfolio Maxwell brought. Now someone has done in decades what we couldn't accomplish in millennia. Every Greek god dead, their temples ash, their power broken, and your first instinct is to kill him. He's dangerous. Of course he's dangerous. Anderson's voice rises, echoing through the small church. He's so dangerous that even Alucard, the no-life king, the vampire who mocks death itself, retreated from him. But dangerous to whom? Maxwell opens his mouth, closes it, opens it again. You can't be suggesting. I'm suggesting nothing. I'm questioning. Anderson returns to the cross, kneeling again. What if God didn't send him? What if something worse did? What if he's here because the walls between realities are weakening and things are coming through? Things that make vampires look like children's stories. His scarred hands clasped together, knuckles white. Or worse, what if he sent himself? What if a man who killed fate itself decided where and when he'd arrive? What if he chose to land in a world drowning in monsters? Maxwell's confidence wavers. Why would he? Penance. The word settles like lead. Anderson stares at the cross, seeing something beyond the wood and nails. The reports say he carries weapons from hell itself, that he's bound by divine magic he can't remove. What if those aren't tools? What if they're punishment? What if he's trapped being exactly what he hates most, a weapon that never breaks, never dulls, never rests? You're sympathizing with. I'm understanding. Anderson's voice becomes quiet, dangerous. There's a difference. I know what it means to be a weapon for a greater purpose, to kill in service of something holy, to have blood on your hands and prayers on your lips. He stands again, facing Maxwell directly. The difference between Kratos and me is that I chose this. I embraced becoming a monster for God. But him, everything I've read says he wanted peace, wanted family, wanted to put down his weapons and never fight again. Anderson walks past Maxwell toward the door, pausing with his hand on the frame. So ask yourself, Enrico, what kind of cruelty forces a man who hates violence to be perfect at it? What kind of punishment makes someone who killed death itself unable to die until his penance is complete? Where are you going? Anderson doesn't turn around. To find him, to ask him directly. The Vatican ordered. The Vatican hasn't fought beside him yet, haven't looked in his eyes. Anderson's voice carries absolute conviction. I'll make my own judgment. If he's a monster, I'll kill him. If he's something else. He leaves the sentence unfinished, walking out into the pre-dawn darkness. Maxwell stands alone in the church, portfolio forgotten, staring at the cross. For the first time in his zealous career, he feels uncertain. September 23, 1999, 2:13 p.m. The Hellsing Manor gardens stretch across manicured lawns, rose bushes, and stone pathways older than the nation itself. Kratos sits on a weathered bench beneath an ancient oak tree, slowly sharpening the Leviathan axe with a whetstone. The motion is meditative, rhythmic. The soft scrape of stone on enchanted metal repeats like a mantra. Sierra's Victoria approaches carefully, boots crunching on gravel. She's been building courage for the last 20 minutes, watching him from the manor windows. Now she's committed to the approach, though every vampire instinct screams warnings about proximity to this particular predator. "May I sit?" she asks, voice small. Kratos doesn't look up. "It's your home." She sits on the far end of the bench, maintaining careful distance. Silence stretches between them, filled only by the whetstone's rhythm and distant bird calls. "You're afraid," Kratos observes quietly. "A bit, yeah." Ceres tries to smile. "You did just destroy Alucard's familiars like they were nothing." They were nothing, dead souls animated by stolen power, not alive, not truly danger. Us. They've killed entire strike teams. Then those teams weren't prepared. The whetstone continues its patient work. Fear doesn't mean weakness, it means awareness. Ceres watches him work for a moment. His hands are scarred tissue layered over scarred tissue, a topographic map of violence spanning what must be decades, maybe centuries, but the way he handles the axe isn't aggressive. It's gentle, almost loving, like tending to an old friend who deserves care. "Why do you clean them?" she asks. "Your weapons. After every fight, the reports say you clean them immediately." For the first time, Kratos' rhythm pauses, just for a heartbeat, then resumes. "Because they deserve respect. They're weapons. They're companions." His voice remains flat, but something softer enters it. The Leviathan axe was crafted by dwarven smiths. They poured skill and artistry into its creation. To let it rust or dull would dishonor their work. He sets down the whetstone, examining the blade in afternoon sunlight. Runes pulse with cold blue light. "And it's kept me alive through battles that should have killed me 1,000 times. The least I can do is maintain it properly." Ceres finds herself relaxing slightly. This isn't the terrifying warrior from the reports. This is just a tired old man who cares about his tools. "You don't enjoy fighting," she says, not a question. "No. But you're perfect at it." "Yes. That must be awful." Kratos finally looks at her, really looks. His eyes, those empty, exhausted eyes, study her face with something approaching curiosity. "You're new to being a vampire. How did you?" "You still have hope in your expression, the old ones don't." He returns to sharpening. "Alucard has lived so long he's forgotten why he wanted to live, but you still remember being human, still value it." Ceres blinks, surprised. "You can tell all that from—" "I've been killing for a very long time. You learn to read people, their stance, their breathing, their eyes." The whetstone scrapes. "You were turned against your will, made into something you never asked to be, and you're terrified you'll lose yourself completely." The accuracy hits like a physical blow. Ceres' throat tightens. How do you stay human when you've done so many inhuman things?" Kratos is silent for a long moment. The whetstone's rhythm continues, patient and endless. "You don't," he finally says. "Not completely. Every death takes a piece. Every battle costs something you can't get back. Eventually you look in the mirror and the person staring back is a stranger." "That's not comforting." "I wasn't trying to comfort you. I was telling the truth." He tests the axe blade with his thumb, nodding satisfaction. "But you asked the wrong question." "What should I have asked?" "Not how do you stay human, but why do you try?" Ceres leans forward. "Okay, why do you try?" Kratos sets down the axe, looking at his scarred hands. The chains disappear into his flesh, permanent reminders of bargains made with forces that don't forgive. "Because giving up means accepting that everything I destroyed, everyone I killed, all the suffering I caused, that it changed me into something I can never undo. If I stopped trying to be human, then they died turning me into a monster, and I refuse to give them that." His hands clench slowly into fists. "Every day I choose restraint is a day I prove that what I did doesn't define what I am, that I'm more than the sum of my worst actions, That change is possible even for someone covered in as much blood as I am. Sirez feels something tight in her chest loosen, but you're so tired. Exhaustion isn't surrender. Kratos picks up the axe again, sliding it onto his back. It's just the price of choosing to be better than your nature. He stands, preparing to leave. Sirez stands too, suddenly not wanting this conversation to end. Master Alucard says you beat him. I inconvenienced him. He's been different since your fight, quieter, more, she searches for the word, thoughtful. Good. What did you say to him, in the monastery? Kratos pauses, back still turned. I told him the truth. That suffering doesn't equal meaning. That becoming a monster willingly is worse than being forced into it. That immortality without purpose is just elaborate suicide stretched across centuries. He glances back over his shoulder. Your master embraced being a monster because it was easier than fighting to stay human. But you haven't made that choice yet. You still hate what you've become. That means you still have a chance. A chance at what? At being more than your nature demands. His expression softens fractionally, the first time Sirez has seen anything besides exhaustion in his face. Don't waste it. He walks away across the gardens, leaving Sirez standing beneath the oak tree. She watches him go, this impossible warrior who hates violence, who cleans his weapons with gentle care, who chooses restraint. Despite being capable of apocalypse. For the first time since her turning, Sirez Victoria feels something besides fear and confusion. She feels hope. Not hope that she'll stay human. Hope that trying matters more than succeeding. September 24th, 1999, 9:47 p.m. Integra Hellsing's office, emergency meeting. Integra sits behind her desk, new reports scattered across every surface. Walter stands at attention near the door. Sirez shifts uncomfortably in the corner. Alucard lounges in the shadows, uncharacteristically quiet. 3 factions now, Integra says, lighting a cigar. Millennium wants him as a weapon. The Vatican wants him eliminated, and we want him controlled before either happens. He won't be controlled, Alucard observes softly. He's not a dog you train. Then what is he? Silence. Walter clears his throat. With respect, Sir Integra, perhaps we're asking the wrong question. Enlighten me. We keep discussing what to do with Kratos. Perhaps we should ask what he wants. Integra's eyes narrow. And what does he want? To go home, Sirez says quietly. Everyone looks at her. She straightens, gaining confidence. He told me. He was trying to go home when Millennium pulled him here. He never wanted to be in this world at all. He can't go back, Integra states flatly. The dimensional breach that brought him here is closed. He's trapped. Then he's a bomb waiting to explode, Walter observes. A man with his capabilities, trapped in a world where everyone wants to use him. It's only a matter of time before. The window explodes inward. Glass showers across the office. A figure crashes through, landing in a crouch. Father Alexander Anderson, blessed bayonets already in hand, regeneration sealing cuts from the glass. Where is he? Anderson roars. Alucard materializes between Anderson and Integra, pistols drawn. Well, the Vatican's mad dog finally shows up. I was wondering when you'd make an appearance. Not for you, monster. Anderson's eyes scan the room. Where's Kratos? Not here, Integra says coldly, standing. And you've just violated my home, father. That's an act of war. Everything is war now. Anderson's voice cracks with intensity. A man who kills gods walks England and you expect me to make polite appointments. Tell me where he is. Why? Sirez steps forward, surprising everyone including herself. So you can kill him. Add another body to your righteousness count. Anderson's gaze fixes on her. For a moment fury, then something else. I don't know, he admits quietly. I don't know if I'll kill him or kneel before him. I don't know if he's monster or messiah. I don't know if he's damnation or deliverance. He lowers his bayonet slightly. But I have to know. I have to look him in the eye and understand what he is. Because if he's what I think he is, if he's a man who killed false gods and hated every second of it, then everything I believe about divine justice needs reconsideration. Integra and Anderson stare at each other across the destroyed office. Before either can speak, the phone rings. Integra answers it, listens. Her expression goes completely neutral, the face she wears when calculating overwhelming force. She hangs up slowly. Millennium just launched simultaneous attacks on 12 locations across London. Vampire assault teams, ghoul infantry, full-scale invasion. It's begun, Alucard says, smile returning. The Major's war. No, Integra's voice cuts like razors. It's worse than that. Intelligence reports that every attack is targeting civilian centers, schools, hospitals, residential districts. Understanding hits Sierra's first. They're trying to trigger him, make him watch innocents die, make him angry. Make him into the Ghost of Sparta, Walter says quietly. The Major is engineering his trauma. Integra crushes her cigar. Where is Kratos now? Walter checks his watch. Downtown, near the children's hospital. Everyone moves at once. Too late. A sound rolls across London like thunder made of screaming. Distant, primal, filled with rage that toppled pantheons and burned civilizations to ash. The Ghost of Sparta has awakened. And the Major gets exactly what he wanted. September 24, 1999, 10:02 p.m. The Major watches London burn from his command center, 15 screens displaying carnage from 15 different angles. His gloved hands rest calmly on the armrests, but his breathing comes faster now. Shallow, excited. Camera 7, he whispers, zoom in. The screen focuses on a residential street in Southwark. Families run from burning homes. A mother clutches a screaming infant. Behind them, ghouls lumber forward with mechanical hunger, jaws unhinging impossibly wide. The Major's smile widens. Beautiful, like watching dominoes fall, each piece perfectly positioned. He turns to the doctor. Status on our primary target. The doctor checks his clipboard, pen scratching notes. Kratos was last seen 3 blocks from St. Thomas Hospital, moving T. Over the screaming. Intel suggests he's attempting civilian evacuation. Of course he is. The Major lights a fresh cigar, smoke curling around his delighted expression. The hero, the protector, still playing the role even though it destroyed him once before. He stands, walking between the monitors, touching each screen like a conductor caressing his orchestra. Do you know what makes Kratos perfect? It's not his strength, not his weapons, not even his ability to kill gods. The Major pauses at a screen showing a burning playground, children swing silhouetted against orange flames. It's his consistency. He reacts the same way every time. Trauma plus violence plus dead innocence equals the Ghost of Sparta. It's mathematical, predictable. Major, if he fully manifests Spartan rage in central London. Then we get to witness perfection. The Major returns to his chair, settling in like someone preparing to watch a favorite film. I've engineered 3 simultaneous assaults on locations specifically chosen to maximize his emotional response. The children's hospital where staff are treating burn victims. The residential district that reminds him of Sparta. The school where a little girl tried to save her classmates. His fingers drum against the armrest, accelerating. Each location staffed with our most expendable vampires. Each scenario designed to recreate his original trauma. Dead families, burning homes, children screaming for parents who can't save them. The doctor shifts uncomfortably. You're weaponizing his PTSD. I'm liberating him from the chains of restraint. The Major's voice rises with religious fervor. For days we've watched him hold back, fight with precision, show mercy, kneel in disgust after killing our soldiers. He's been playing at being civilized, at being reformed. He leans forward, eyes blazing behind orange glasses. But you can't reform a weapon. You can only sharpen it. And tonight, I'm going to hone the Ghost of Sparta until he cuts through reality itself. A new screen flickers to life. Night vision footage. Kratos running through smoke-filled streets, the Leviathan axe already in his hands. His expression still shows restraint, control, the tired old man trying to save people. The Major's smile becomes transcendent. Watch, any second now. Any second the old man dies and the god killer is reborn. September 24th, 1999, 10:17 p.m. Kratos crashes through the hospital's emergency entrance, axe shattering the glass doors. Smoke chokes the corridors. Flames crawl across walls. The sprinkler system died 10 minutes ago, leaving only heat and screams. He moves through the chaos with brutal efficiency. Axe swings decapitate ghouls mid-lunge. Frost detonations freeze vampire attackers solid. His path through the building leaves a trail of shattered monster corpses and evacuated civilians. Third floor, pediatric ward. A nurse, young, maybe 25, blood streaking her scrubs, stumbles from a doorway. The children, Ward C, they're trapped. Kratos doesn't answer, just runs. Ward C's entrance is blocked by collapsed ceiling beams and burning debris. Beyond the wreckage, small voices scream. High-pitched, terrified, the sounds children make when they don't understand why the world is ending around them. Kratos sets the Leviathan axe aside, grabs the burning beam with both hands. His palms blister instantly, flesh cooking against superheated metal. He doesn't flinch, just pulls, muscles straining, tendons standing out like cables beneath scarred skin. The beam shifts, inches, feet. Enough. He kicks through the remaining debris, entering Ward C through a wall of smoke and flames. 6 children huddle in the corner, ages 4 to maybe 9, faces streaked with soot and tears. A little girl with dark hair holds the youngest, a boy who can't be more than 5. Something in Kratos' chest cracks. The girl, the dark hair, the way she holds the younger child protectively. Calliope. No. Not Calliope. Calliope is dead, has been dead for decades, burned to ash in his arms while Ares laughed and the gods watched and did nothing. But the resemblance. Sir, the little girl's voice breaks through his paralysis. Are you here to help? Kratos forces his frozen muscles to move. Can you walk? Yes, but Tommy can't. His leg is hurt. He doesn't hesitate. Scoops up the youngest boy, gestures for the others to follow. Stay close. Don't look at anything. Just watch my back and keep moving. They navigate through smoke and flames, Kratos using his body to shield them from falling debris. The Leviathan axe appears in his free hand, freezing a ghoul that lurches from a doorway. The children scream but keep moving. Almost to the stairs. Almost safe. Then the vampire drops from the ceiling. Millennium class, artificial, fast enough that even Kratos barely registers the movement before claws slash toward the children. Kratos pivots, putting himself between the monster and its targets. The vampire's claw. WS punch through his chest. Ribs crack, lung punctures, blood sprays across white hospital walls. He ignores the wound. Drives the Leviathan axe through the vampire's skull with enough force to shatter bone and freeze brain matter solid. The creature dies instantly, corpse collapsing. Kratos staggers but doesn't fall, can't fall. The children are watching. Go, he rasps, blood bubbling from his lips. Stares now. They run. He follows, one hand pressed against the sucking chest wound, the other gripping his axe. Every breath is agony. Every step leaves bloody footprints. But he keeps moving because that's what you do when children need protection. That's what he should have done for Calliope. They reach the ground floor. Emergency services have arrived, ambulances, fire trucks, armed police creating a perimeter. The children run toward safety, toward light and life and futures they'll hopefully live long enough to see. The dark-haired girl stops at the perimeter, looks back. "Thank you," she calls, waving. Kratos raises one hand in acknowledgement, then turns back toward the burning hospital. More screams echo from upper floors, more civilians trapped, more work to be done. He's 3 steps back toward the entrance when the explosion hits. The blast originates from Ward C, delayed explosive planted by Millennium's assault team, timed perfectly, calculated meticulously. The entire 3rd floor erupts in a fireball that turns night into artificial day. Kratos spins around, already knowing, already understanding, already too late. The shockwave hits the evacuation perimeter. Bodies fly like leaves, medical personnel scatter, the ambulances tip, metal shrieking. And the dark-haired girl, the one who reminded him so perfectly of Calliope, who waved thank you with innocent trust, catches a chunk of burning debris directly in the chest. Time doesn't slow. Time stops. Kratos watches her small body lift off the ground, suspended for one impossible moment, eyes wide with confusion rather than fear. She doesn't understand why she's flying, doesn't understand why the nice man who saved them is screaming. She hits the pavement, doesn't move again. Kratos stands frozen, chest wound forgotten, pain forgotten, everything forgotten except the small broken body and the dark hair spreading around her head like a halo. Calliope. No, not Calliope. But it doesn't matter, because the memory crashes through his restraint like a battering ram through wet paper. Suddenly he's not in London. He's in Sparta. He's holding his daughter's burning corpse. He's screaming at gods who don't answer. He's feeling her go limp in his arms as ash replaces flesh. He's failing again. The temperature drops 20 degrees in 3 seconds. Frost spreads from Kratos' feet in a perfect circle, cracking pavement, freezing puddles of blood, turning rain into ice crystals mid-fall. The air itself seems to congeal, reality holding its breath. His head tilts back. The sound that emerges isn't human. It's not even mammalian. It's the sound of tectonic plates grinding, of mountains cracking, of reality itself protesting something that should not exist, breaking through dimensional barriers on pure rage. The blades of chaos manifest without conscious thought. Not summoned, not drawn, just there, erupting from his forearms in chains that burn reality itself, each link carved with runes that hurt to look at, hellfire dripping from metal that remembers bathing in Titan blood. Kratos' eyes ignite. Literally, orange flames pour from empty sockets, burning away the exhausted mortality, revealing the ancient god-killer beneath. The white ash covering his skin begins glowing, tattoos pulsing with power that predates human civilization. He turns toward the hospital, toward the Millennium Strike team, still operating on upper floors. And he moves. Not runs, not leaps. Manifests. One moment standing at the perimeter, the next through the hospital wall, debris exploding outward from impact, his entrance leaving a Kratos-shaped hole in reinforced concrete. The vampires inside barely have time to register his arrival before the killing starts. This isn't combat. This is extinction. The blades of chaos become arcs of hellfire that carve through vampire flesh like paper. No blocking, no defending. If the blades touch you, you cease. Regeneration doesn't activate because there's nothing left to regenerate from, just ash and the screaming memory of pain. A vampire tries to flee. Kratos' hand shoots out, grabs it by the skull and squeezes. The head implodes. Brain and bone and blood spray across walls already painted with carnage. He doesn't pause. Doesn't slow. just processes through the building like a thresher through wheat, leaving nothing but corpses and silence. The Leviathan axe swings in wide arcs. Frost explosions freeze entire rooms solid. Vampires caught mid-scream turned into statues that shatter when Kratos walks through them. The temperature inside the hospital plummets, below freezing despite the fires still burning. Ice and fire. Ragnarok contained in human form. A Millennium soldier, vampire enhanced, trained for decades in combat, raises its weapon. Kratos grabs the barrel mid-shot, the blessed silver bullets punching into his palm. He doesn't flinch, just pulls the vampire closer, close enough to look into its eyes. The vampire sees its death reflected in burning orange light. Kratos' fist goes through its chest, emerges from its back holding the still beating heart. He crushes it into paste, drops the corpse, moves to the next target. 30 vampires die in 90 seconds. Then Kratos exits the hospital. The real carnage begins. Millennium's assault forces scatter across Southwark, 3 full regiments, 200 vampires, 500 ghouls. Standard invasion doctrine calls for overwhelming force and rapid territorial acquisition. They don't realize they're not invading. They're fleeing. Kratos erupts from the hospital like a meteor crash landing in reverse, the blades of chaos spinning in figurates that leave trails of hellfire hanging in the air. He lands in the center of the vampire regiment's formation. They surround him immediately. Standard pack tactics, coordinated assault from all directions simultaneously. It doesn't matter. Kratos spins, and the spin becomes a cyclone of chains and fire and frozen death. The first rotation kills 30 vampires. The second collapses a building from shockwave alone. The third ignites the air itself, oxygen combusting from proximity to primordial rage. The vampire regiment breaks. Not retreats, breaks. Soldiers who survived Anderson's blessed bayonets and Alucard's familiars turn and run screaming from this thing that used to be a man. They scatter into alleys, into sewers, into anywhere that isn't here. Kratos follows. Not chasing, pursuing. The difference is terrifying. Chasing implies the quarry might escape. Pursuing is inevitable, geological, like erosion destroying mountains, slow, patient, absolutely certain. He catches the first fleeing vampire in an alley 3 blocks away. The Leviathan axe buries itself in the creature's spine, frost spreading through its nervous system. It freezes from the inside out, consciousness trapped in a body that can't move, can't scream, can only experience perfect absolute cold until brain death finally brings mercy. Kratos retrieves the axe, continues. The next vampire tries hiding in the Thames. The river boils. Kratos stands at the water's edge, the blades of chaos thrust into the river itself. Hellfire ignites the water, shouldn't be possible, violates thermodynamics, doesn't care. Steam erupts in towering pillars. Fish float to the surface, cooked instantly. The vampire screams as its flesh cooks inside superheated water. Kratos pulls it out, still alive, barely. Please, it begs, regeneration trying desperately to rebuild boiled tissue. Please, I surrender, I'll tell you anything. The Leviathan axe removes its head. Kratos doesn't speak, doesn't acknowledge the plea, just executes the target and moves to the next one. Because the Ghost of Sparta doesn't take prisoners. The Ghost of Sparta doesn't show mercy. The Ghost of Sparta is an ending made manifest. In the command center, the Major watches 15 screens showing systematic annihilation. His breathing comes in rapid gasps. Sweat pours down his face. His hands grip the armrest so tightly the leather tears. Beautiful, he whispers. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. The doctor stands paralyzed, clipboard forgotten, watching a single man dismantle 3 military regiments in real time. Major, we need to retreat. Pull back our forces before. No, The major lunges from his chair, grabbing the doctor by his collar. Don't you dare rob me of this. I spent months engineering this moment. I earned this. He shoves the doctor away, eyes locked on the screens. Look at him, look. The major's voice cracks with religious ecstasy. No hesitation, no mercy, no humanity left whatsoever, just pure distilled violence. This is what mankind can become when we strip away the pretense of civilization. On screen, Kratos catches 3 vampires simultaneously. The blades of chaos impale 2 through the chest. The Leviathan axe takes the third's head. All 3 die in the same second. He's not even thinking anymore, the major breathes. Just reacting, stimulus and response, threat and execution. He's become what he always feared, a perfect killing machine. The doctor finds his voice. He's going to kill every one of our soldiers. I know, the major's laughter echoes through the submarine. Isn't it glorious? Alucard stands on a rooftop overlooking the carnage, Integra beside him, both watching London burn. Vampire bodies litter the streets below, buildings collapse, the Thames steams. And through it all, a single figure moves with mechanical precision, killing everything that moves. You were right, Integra says quietly, binoculars pressed to her eyes. We never stood a chance of controlling him. No, Alucard's voice carries something she's never heard from him before. This is what he truly is. Not the tired old man, not the reluctant warrior. This, the ghost of Sparta, the god-killer, the end of pantheons. He watches Kratos grab a vampire by the leg, swing it like a club to kill 2 more, then freeze all 3 solid and shatter them with a stomp. I thought I understood violence, Alucard continues, smile widening impossibly. I've killed for 5 centuries, bathed in oceans of blood, consumed thousands of souls. I thought I was the apex predator. He turns to look at Integra, and his eyes burn with genuine excitement. I was wrong, this is perfection. He's not killing because he enjoys it, not because he believes in anything, not even because he hates them. He's killing because his daughter died and his brain broke, and now the only thing left is the pattern. Identify threat, eliminate threat, move to next threat, repeat until the screaming stops. Below, Kratos reduces an entire building to rubble with shockwave alone, burying 12 vampires under tons of stone. He's beautiful, Alucard whispers. Integra lowers her binoculars, face pale. He's an apocalypse. Same thing. A Millennium soldier, desperate, cornered, out of options, pulls a grenade, screaming about taking the monster with him. Kratos catches the grenade mid-throw, throws it back. The explosion vaporizes the soldier and everyone within 20 meters. Kratos walks through the smoke untouched. I need to fight him, Alucard says suddenly. Not to test him, not to defeat him, just to experience what it feels like to face something genuinely superior. You'll die. Maybe, Alucard's smile becomes transcendent. What a way to go. 2 hours later. The fighting stops not because Kratos chooses to stop, but because there's nothing left to kill. 3 Millennium regiments, 200 vampires, 500 ghouls, all dead, every single one. Kratos stands in the center of what used to be a residential district, now reduced to burning rubble and frozen corpses. The blades of chaos hang limp from his forearms, still dripping hellfire onto blackened pavement. The Leviathan axe rests against his shoulder, frost slowly spreading across his back. His eyes still burn orange. But the flames are flickering now, fading, reality reasserting itself. He looks down at his hands. Blood, ash, fragments of bone. The little girl's face flashes through his memory. Calliope. No, not Calliope. A stranger, someone he couldn't save. Someone who died because he was too slow, too weak, too mortal to be everywhere at once. Someone he avenged by butchering 200 creatures who had nothing to do with her death, except wearing the same uniform as those who planted the bomb. The orange flames die. His eyes return to that tired, empty gray. He sees what he's done, the destruction, the carnage, the streets running with blood, enemy blood, yes, but blood nonetheless. The buildings collapsed, the district destroyed. The Ghost of Sparta retreats back into its cage, leaving only Kratos. Exhausted, bloody, disgusted. He drops to his knees among the corpses, and the self-loathing crashes down like an avalanche. Because the Major was right. He is a perfect weapon, and he hates himself for it. September 25, 1999, 4:32 a.m. Alucard hasn't moved from the rooftop in 6 hours. He stands perfectly still, red coat whipping in wind that carries the smell of burning flesh and frozen blood. Below, emergency services work through the ruins, body bags, chalk outlines, entire city blocks reduced to apocalyptic wasteland. And in the center of it all, visible even from this distance, Kratos kneels among the dead. Still kneeling, still silent, still radiating self-hatred so profound Alucard can taste it from half a mile away. Master, Ceres approaches carefully, boots crunching on shattered roof tiles. Sir, Integra requests your presence. She wants a full tactical assessment before. He's crying. Ceres stops. What? Alucard points toward Kratos' distant figure. No tears, but his shoulders are shaking. His breathing pattern suggests suppressed sobbing. He just killed 200 enemies in under 2 hours and now he's crying about it. His voice carries fascination mixed with something darker, something hungry. I've killed for 5 centuries, Alucard continues, not looking at Ceres. Crusaders, Ottomans, Nazis, vampires, humans. God's willing, I've bathed in the blood of thousands. Do you know what I felt afterward? Master, nothing. He turns to face her, eyes burning behind orange glasses. Not guilt, not satisfaction, not even boredom until much later. Just emptiness. The hollow space where human emotion used to exist before I traded it for immortality. He gestures toward Kratos. But him, he fights like the apocalypse made flesh, moves through enemies like they're paper, executes with perfect efficiency, then kneels and weeps because violence disgusts him. Alucard's smile widens slowly, showing too many teeth. That's spiritually impossible. You can't be the world's perfect killer and genuinely hate killing. The two states can't coexist. It's like being fire that despises heat, a paradox that shouldn't function. Maybe that's what makes him strong, Ceres suggests quietly. The hate, the resistance. Maybe, Alucard's voice drops, or maybe he's just lying to himself. Maybe deep down, beneath all the guilt and self-loathing and tired old man routine, there's a creature that loves this. That gets the same rush I do. That feels alive only when covered in enemy blood. He starts walking toward the roof's edge. There's only one way to know for certain. Master, what are you? Alucard steps off the building. Falls 40 stories. Lands in a crouch that cracks pavement, coat settling around him like wings. He straightens slowly, already walking toward Kratos' kneeling figure. Ceres watches from above, dread coiling in her stomach. Don't, she whispers to the empty air. Please don't do this. Kratos hears Alucard approach, but doesn't look up. Doesn't reach for weapons. Just continues kneeling in the ash and blood, hands resting on his thighs, breathing slowly through the tsunami of self-hatred crashing through his skull. The girl's face, dark hair, trusting eyes, flying backward from the explosion. Calliope's corpse, burning in his arms, Ares laughing. 200 vampires, butchered, massacred, executed with efficiency that would make gods weep. He's so tired. So infinitely, eternally tired. Magnificent performance, Alucard says, stopping 10 meters away. I especially enjoyed the part where you boiled the Thames, Very dramatic, very apocalyptic, very you. Silence. Not talking, understandable. Hard to make small talk after slaughtering an entire regiment. Alucard circles slowly, boots crunching on frozen vampire ash. Though I noticed something interesting. You killed every single one. Not most. Not the majority. Every single one. He pauses. Even the ones that ran. Even the ones that surrendered. Even the ones that just stood there paralyzed by fear. You executed them all with the same mechanical precision. Almost like you enjoyed. Stop. Kratos' voice is barely a whisper, hoarse, broken. Stop what? Observing, noticing, pointing out the truth you're desperately trying to ignore. Alucard's smile sharpens. You can pretend all you want, God Killer. You can kneel in the ashes and weep and perform your little penitent routine, but we both know what you felt out there. Kratos finally looks up. His eyes are red-rimmed, exhausted, empty. I felt nothing. Exactly, Alucard's voice rises with triumph. You felt nothing. 200 kills in 2 hours and you felt absolutely nothing while doing it. No rage, no satisfaction, no fear, just cold, perfect execution. You know what that makes you. He leans down, close enough that Kratos could kill him with a thought. My kin. Kratos' expression doesn't change. We are nothing alike. Aren't we? Alucard straightens, spreading his arms. I'm an immortal monster who kills without emotion. You're a mortal god killer who kills without emotion. The only difference is I accepted what I am centuries ago. You're still pretending you have a choice. I do have a choice. Then why are you covered in blood? Alucard's voice becomes gentle, almost kind. If you truly hate violence, why are you so devastatingly perfect at it? Why do your hands move to kill before your brain consciously decides? Why does combat feel like breathing? Kratos stands slowly, joints popping. Blood and ash cake his skin. His weapons hang heavy from exhausted arms. Because I was made this way. Forged by gods and trauma and centuries of violence I never wanted. But being made into a weapon doesn't mean I have to love what I've become. Doesn't it? Alucard tilts his head. I think you're lying. I think somewhere deep inside, beneath all the guilt and self-loathing, there's a part of you that felt alive tonight. That felt purpose. That felt the same rush every warrior feels when they're doing exactly what they were born to do. You're wrong. Prove it. The words hang in the smoking air. Kratos stares at Alucard, understanding dawning slowly across his exhausted features. You want me to fight you? I want you to show me what you really are. Alucard's smile becomes transcendent. No holding back, no restraint, no pretending you're anything except the perfect killing machine that just erased 3 regiments. I want to see the Ghost of Sparta at full strength. Why? Because I need to know. For the first time, genuine emotion cracks through Alucard's voice. I need to know if you're really different, if resistance actually matters, if someone can be as monstrous as me and still genuinely hate what they've become, or if you're just another killer lying to himself. Kratos closes his eyes, breathes slowly. When he opens them again, something fundamental has shifted. If I fight you, I won't hold back. Good. I will try to kill you permanently, destroy every soul, erase you completely. Even better. And if I succeed, Kratos' voice drops, another death I'll carry forever, another monster I couldn't save, another name added to the infinite list. Alucard's smile falters for just a moment. Because he finally understands. Kratos isn't threatening him. Kratos is mourning him preemptively. Level 0, Alucard says quietly. I'm releasing everything, every soul I've consumed, every familiar, every piece of power I've collected across 5 centuries. You'll face an army of the dead, ocean of darkness, the accumulated suffering of everyone I've ever killed. He removes his glasses, red eyes burning. And when it's over, One of us will finally understand what we really are. Shadows explode from his body like a tidal wave. The transformation starts small. Shadows spreading from Alucard's feet, flowing outward like oil across water. Then faster, wider, consuming light, warmth, hope itself. The darkness spreads across Southwark, across the Thames, across London. The sky disappears. Not clouds, not night. Disappearance. The heavens are replaced by writhing darkness filled with millions of eyes, every soul Alucard consumed, every victim crying out, every familiar hungry for flesh. Kratos watches the apocalypse manifest, the Leviathan axe already in his grip. He's fought gods before, titans, primordial forces, but he's never fought accumulated suffering on this scale. The first wave hits like a tsunami made of corpses. Crusaders in rusted armor, Ottoman soldiers with scimitars, Nazi vampires, ghouls, monsters, humans twisted into shapes that hurt to perceive. They flood toward Kratos in numbers that defy comprehension, not hundreds, not thousands, millions. The dead walk across England, and they all want one thing. Kratos doesn't run. He plants. The Leviathan axe swings in a wide arc. Frost detonates outward in a wave that flash freezes the first 1,000 undead. They shatter like glass sculptures, crystalline fragments catching non-existent light. But more come. Always more. The blades of chaos manifest, chains screaming as they unwind. Kratos spins, hellfire carving figurates through the undead horde. Where ice fails, fire succeeds. Where fire fails, ice follows. But the numbers are infinite. For every 10 he kills, 100 replace them. For every 100, 1,000. The mathematical reality becomes clear within seconds. He cannot win by attrition. He has to go for the source. Alucard stands at the epicenter of the darkness, arms spread, laughing with genuine joy. Yes, this is what I wanted. Show me what you really are. Kratos doesn't answer. Just starts walking. Not running, not charging. Walking. Directly toward Alucard through an army of the dead. The undead swarm him from all directions. A crusader lunges with a blessed sword. Kratos catches the blade bare-handed, frost spreading from his grip, freezing the metal solid. He snaps it, drives the broken half through the crusader's skull, uses the corpse as a shield against 3 more attackers. An Ottoman vampire tries to flank. The Leviathan axe buries itself in its chest without Kratos even looking, pure muscle memory, decades of combat compressed into instinct. He recalls the axe, the weapon flying back to his hand, already swinging into the next target. A ghoul pack tries to drag him down. The blades of chaos erupt in hellfire so intense the creatures vaporize mid-grab. Ash rains down. Kratos keeps walking. Step. Kill 10. Step. Kill 20. Step. Kill 50. His breathing remains measured, rhythmic, like someone climbing stairs, not fighting for survival against impossible odds. Alucard watches, smile fading slowly. Because Kratos' expression hasn't changed. No rage, no excitement, no battle joy. Just tired necessity. You're not enjoying this, Alucard calls out, genuinely confused. How can you not be enjoying this? Kratos doesn't respond, just continues his methodical advance. The undead pile around him like snow drifts, bodies stacking, forming literal walls of corpses he climbs over without pause. The Draupnir spear appears in his left hand, a new weapon, ancient magic, forged from dwarven craft and Asgardian power. He throws it. The spear multiplies mid-flight, 1 becoming 10, becoming 100, becoming 1,000, each one pinning a familiar to the ground with divine authority. The spears detonate. Bifrost explosions chain across the battlefield, each one erasing dozens of undead in blasts of rainbow destruction. The light should be beautiful. It just looks sad. Because Kratos' face shows only exhaustion. Why won't you smile? Alucard screams, losing composure for the first time in centuries. You're winning, you're perfect, you're unstoppable. This should feel glorious. Kratos reaches the halfway. I point. Undead bodies pile so high they block out Alucard's view, but Kratos just climbs, uses corpses as stairs, reaches the top of the mound of his own victims, stands silhouetted against the writhing darkness, and speaks for the first time since the battle started. There is no glory in necessary evil. He jumps. The collision is cataclysmic. Kratos crashes into Alucard's center mass like a meteor hitting atmosphere. The impact crater spreads for blocks. The shockwave levels buildings already weakened by earlier fighting. They separate. Circle. This is no longer physical combat. This is something deeper. Alucard splits into ocean, his body becoming liquid shadow that flows around attacks, reforms from wounds, exists everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. He floods toward Kratos like a tsunami of malice. Kratos plants the Leviathan axe. Frost erupts in all directions, flash-freezing the shadow ocean. Alucard's screams echo from a million frozen mouths. But he adapts. Becomes fire instead of water, heat instead of cold, shadows that burn. Kratos responds with the blades of chaos. Hellfire meets shadow fire. The collision creates light so intense it burns afterimages into the retinas of everyone watching from miles away. They clash at the center. Not trading blows. Trading philosophies. You think restraint makes you noble. Alucard's voice comes from everywhere, fragmented across 1,000 mouths. You're just a coward afraid to admit what you love. The Leviathan axe cleaves through shadow forms, freezing them mid-manifestation. I don't love this. Kratos' voice remains calm, empty. I'm good at it because I've had to be, because the universe kept putting weapons in my hands and enemies in front of me. But being skilled at murder doesn't make me a murderer by choice. Lies, Alucard reforms, take semi-solid shape, both casuals firing blessed rounds that punch through Kratos' chest, stomach, legs. You felt alive tonight. Admit it. When you were killing Millennium's forces, when the Ghost of Sparta took over, you felt purpose. Kratos staggers from the wounds but doesn't fall. Blood pours down his chest. He looks down at the holes, then back at Alucard. I felt efficient. That's not the same as alive. He closes the distance impossibly fast, grabs Alucard by the throat before the vampire can dissolve again. Frost spreads from the contact point, freezing Alucard solid from the neck down. You surrendered to being a monster because it was easier than fighting, Kratos says quietly, face inches from Alucard's frozen form. I fight being a monster because surrender means accepting that everyone I killed died, turning me into something I can never undo. He lifts Alucard, slams him into the ground hard enough to crack bedrock. Every death I cause is another weight, another name, another face in the infinite procession of my failures. You think I should enjoy adding to that? Alucard breaks free, shadows exploding outward. He reforms 20 meters away, regeneration working overtime to repair frozen tissue. Then why continue? His voice cracks with genuine confusion. If every death wounds you, if every battle costs another piece of your soul, why keep fighting? Kratos stands in the crater, bleeding from a dozen wounds, surrounded by millions of undead, facing an immortal vampire at full power. And his expression finally changes. Not to rage, to pity. Because someone has to. Because monsters like you exist and innocents need protection. Because the alternative is letting the world burn while I hide from responsibility. He hefts the Leviathan axe. I hate violence. I hate killing. I hate being good at this. But I hate watching children die more. So I endure being the weapon I never wanted to be. I carry the guilt, I accept the exhaustion. I kneel in the ashes afterward and weep. The blades of chaos ignite with renewed fury. That's the difference between us, vampire. You became a monster and called it acceptance. I remain a weapon and call it penance. You've spent centuries collecting suffering like treasure. I've spent them trying to prevent more. Kratos advances through the undead army, killing with perfect efficiency, face showing only tired obligation. You ask why I don't smile, because there's nothing to smile about. This is work. Necessary, exhausting, soul-destroying work. And when it's done, I'll carry these deaths too. Add them to the list. Remember their faces even though they were already dead. He reaches Alucard again. This time the vampire doesn't retreat. Just stares. You really don't enjoy any of this. No, not even a little. Not even slightly. Alucard's expression crumbles. 5 centuries of certainty shattering in a single moment. Because he finally understands. Kratos isn't pretending. Isn't performing. Genuinely, completely, absolutely hates being what he is. And still chooses to be it anyway. That's not weakness. That's strength Alucard cannot comprehend. The undead arm. Why dissolves? Not destroyed, released. Alucard pulls back his level 0, souls returning to wherever he keeps them, shadows retreating. The sky reappears, dawn breaking across London, golden light cutting through smoke and ash. He collapses to his knees. Not from injury. From psychological defeat. I don't understand, he whispers. I don't understand how you can be so strong and so miserable simultaneously. How you can be perfect at violence and genuinely hate it. How you can kill without emotion and still carry every death like personal failure. Kratos walks to him slowly, stands looking down at the kneeling vampire. Because strength isn't the absence of suffering, it's continuing despite it. Because perfection at something doesn't mean loving it. Because killing without emotion is a defense mechanism, not a preference. He extends his hand. Alucard stares at it shocked. You're offering help after everything I just... You're a monster, Kratos says simply. But you're also a person who's forgotten why they wanted to live. That's not contemptible. That's tragic. Alucard looks at the offered hand for a long moment. Then takes it. Kratos pulls him to his feet. They stand facing each other, God-killer and vampire king, surrounded by the ruins of their ideological war. I still don't understand you, Alucard admits. Good. That means you're learning that monsters can be more complex than their nature demands. Kratos turns to leave, stops, looks back. For what it's worth, I didn't enjoy defeating you either. Just added another name to the list of people I couldn't save from themselves. He walks away through the dawn light, leaving Alucard standing alone. The vampire king watches him go. Something fundamental shifted in his ancient soul. For the first time in 500 years, Alucard questions whether being a monster was ever worth the cost. September 25, 1999, 6:47 a.m. The Major's command center is chaos. Screens flicker with static. Alarms blare. The doctor frantically types commands into keyboards that refuse to respond. Half the monitoring systems are offline. The other half show nothing but empty streets littered with ash. 3 regiments gone. 200 vampires erased. Millennium's entire London offensive, destroyed by one man in less than 12 hours. The Major sits perfectly still in his leather chair, hands folded calmly in his lap. He hasn't moved in 20 minutes, hasn't blinked, just stares at the final surveillance footage playing on loop. Kratos standing over Alucard, extending his hand, helping the vampire to his feet. Major, we need to evacuate, the doctor says, voice cracking with panic. Our position is compromised. Hellsing will trace our... He helped him up. The doctor stops. What? Kratos, after defeating the no-life king, after proving himself superior in every measurable way, after demonstrating that he could erase Alucard's existence permanently, the Major leans forward slowly, eyes fixed on the frozen image. He helped him up. His breathing quickens, sweat beads on his forehead. I don't understand. I engineered the perfect scenario, triggered his trauma, unleashed the Ghost of Sparta, watched him become the ultimate weapon. He killed with efficiency that would make gods weep. No hesitation, no mercy, perfect execution. The Major's hands begin trembling. But then he stopped, knelt in the ashes, cried, and when given the chance to kill the world's most dangerous vampire, to eliminate a monster that has slaughtered thousands, he chose mercy. He stands abruptly, knocking his chair backward. How? His voice rises to a shriek. How does someone who destroyed entire pantheons still choose restraint? How does the perfect killing machine still care about being human? How does he carry that much blood on his hands and still extend a helping hand to his enemy? The doctor backs away slowly, recognizing the madness creeping into the Major's voice. It's illogical, inefficient, strategically stupid. Alucard is a threat, an obstacle, a monster that will kill again. The rational choice is elimination, but Kratos doesn't choose rationally, he chooses humanely. The Major walks to the nearest screen, pressing both hands against the monitor. His reflection overlays Kratos' image, the monster and the man, superimposed. I spent my entire existence engineering the perfect war, creating soldiers who embrace violence, building weapons that celebrate destruction. I made myself into something beyond human because humanity is weakness. His voice drops to a whisper. But he proves me wrong. Every action proves me wrong. Because the thing that makes him truly terrifying isn't his strength, isn't his skill, isn't his ability to kill gods. The Major's smile returns slowly, growing wider, becoming transcendent. It's that after all the horror, after all the death, after becoming everything he feared, he still tries to be human, still chooses mercy over efficiency. Till values life, even when he's perfect at ending it. He starts laughing. Quiet at first, then louder, building into hysterical cackling that echoes through the submarine. Don't you see, that's what I could never engineer, that's what all my planning could never replicate. The Major spins to face the doctor, tears streaming down his face from laughter. I wanted to prove that humanity is a mask, that beneath civilization lives the beast, that given sufficient trauma, everyone becomes a monster. He gestures wildly at the screens. But Kratos became a monster and is desperately clawing his way back to being human. He's walking the path in reverse, every choice fighting against his nature, every act of mercy contradicting his capabilities. He's the living refutation of everything I believe. The laughter intensifies, verging on madness. It's beautiful, horrifying, perfect. A man so strong he can kill fate itself, using that strength to choose weakness. A weapon so perfect it refuses to be used. An apocalypse that apologizes. The submarine shudders. Explosions echo through the hull. The doctor checks his instruments. Major, Hellsing forces are breaching the... Let them come. The Major's laughter finally subsides into exhausted giggles. I got what I wanted, not the war I expected, something better, something that will haunt me into whatever comes after death. He collapses back into his chair, smile still plastered across his face. I wanted to prove monsters are inevitable. Instead, I proved that humanity is a choice, and some people choose it even when it would be easier to surrender. The bulkhead door explodes inward. Walter C. Dornes enters, wires already deployed, surrounded by armed operatives. The Major looks up at them, still smiling. Tell Kratos something for me. His voice is calm now, almost peaceful. Tell him he was magnificent, tell him he won. Not because he killed my soldiers, because he proved that after everything, after all the blood and horror and trauma. The Major closes his eyes. Choosing to be human is the greatest act of defiance possible. Walter's wires flash. The Major dies laughing. 2 days later, Hellsing Manor, underground holding cell. Alucard sits cross-legged in the center of the reinforced chamber, staring at nothing. He hasn't moved in 48 hours, hasn't fed, hasn't taunted guards, hasn't done anything except sit and think. The door opens. Integra enters, cigar smoke trailing behind her. "You've been requested." Alucard doesn't look up. "By whom?" "Kratos, he's leaving London, wants to speak with you first." For the first time in 2 days, Alucard moves, stands slowly, joints popping from disuse. "Where?" "The monastery, where you first fought." Alucard smiles slightly, poetic. The monastery looks worse in daylight. Walls still scorched from hellfire, floor still cracked from their battle, frozen vampire ash still coating surfaces no one has bothered to clean. Morning light streams through shattered windows, cutting the devastation into geometric patterns. Kratos stands in the center, the Leviathan axe already strapped to his back. He's cleaned the blood off, changed clothes, but exhaustion still radiates from him like heat from coals. Alucard materializes from shadows near the entrance. They regard each other silently. "I'm told you're leaving," Alucard says finally. "Yes." "Where?" "Away. Millennium is broken but not destroyed. Vampires still hunt across Europe, monsters that need killing." Kratos' voice is flat, empty. "Work that needs doing." "Alone." "Always alone." Alucard walks closer, boots crunching on debris. "I could come with you, help. I'm good at killing monsters, professional experience." "No." "Why not?" Kratos finally meets his gaze. "Because you still don't understand why you kill. You do it because you're bored, because centuries of existence left you hollow, because violence is the only thing that makes you feel anything." He turns to face Alucard fully. "I need to kill because monsters exist and innocents need protection. That's not compatibility. That's fundamental opposition." Alucard's smile fades. "I could learn, you could teach me." "I can't teach you to value human life. That has to come from inside." Kratos picks up a travel pack from the corner, slinging it over his shoulder. "But I can tell you this, every death I cause weighs on me. Every monster I kill was once something else. Every vampire was human. Every ghoul was innocent. They're all tragedies, not targets." He walks toward the exit, pauses beside Alucard. "If you want to change, start there. Stop seeing enemies as entertainment. Start seeing them as failures, people who became monsters because the world broke them. Maybe then you'll understand why mercy matters more than victory." "You could have killed me," Alucard says quietly. "During our fight, when I released level 0, you had opportunities. Why didn't you?" Kratos is silent for a long moment. "Because you're already dead inside. Actual death would be mercy. I wanted you to live and feel what being alive without purpose costs." His voice softens fractionally. "Consider it punishment for wasting immortality on boredom." He continues walking. "Wait," Alucard's voice cracks slightly. "Will I see you again?" Kratos doesn't turn around. "I hope not. That would mean more monsters, more death, more names added to my list." He reaches the door. "But if we do meet again, try to be better than what you are now, for your own sake, not mine." He leaves. Alucard stands alone in the ruined monastery, surrounded by evidence of their battle, feeling something he hasn't experienced in 500 years. Inadequacy. 3 weeks later. London slowly heals its wounds. Construction crews work through the Southwark ruins. Memorial services honor the dead. The government issues official statements about terrorist attacks and unprecedented cooperation between security forces. The truth remains classified, buried. forgotten by everyone except those who saw. In Hellsing Manor's war room, Integra reviews damage reports while Walter serves tea. Total casualties, she asks. Civilian, 47 dead, 213 injured. Military, 12 operatives lost during evacuation operations. Enemy forces, complete annihilation. 3 Millennium regiments, every vampire, every ghoul, all eliminated. Walter sets down the teacup. By one man in approximately 11 hours. Integra lights a cigar, and Kratos' current location. Unknown. Last confirmed sighting was Belgium 3 days ago. Reports of vampire nests destroyed in Brussels. Then he disappeared. Disappeared how? Completely, no trail, no witnesses, just rumors. Walter adjusts his monocle. The European vampire underground is spreading stories. A silent warrior who appears when monsters gather, fights with weapons that shouldn't exist, kills with perfect efficiency, then vanishes. Integra exhales smoke slowly. They're making him a legend. They're making him a nightmare. Walter pours his own tea. The stories say he doesn't negotiate, doesn't spare, doesn't leave survivors, just ashes and silence. He hates it, Sira says quietly from the corner. Everyone looks at her, she straightens. The killing. He hates every second, but he does it anyway because someone has to. Integra studies her newest vampire. You spoke with him. Once, in the garden, he told me. Sira's pauses, choosing words carefully. He told me that trying to be human matters more than succeeding. That exhaustion from fighting your nature is better than surrendering to it. And you believe him. I believe he's the saddest person I've ever met. Sira's voice softens. And the strongest, because he carries all that sadness and still chooses to keep going. The room falls silent. Finally, Integra speaks. Walter, maintain surveillance on European vampire activity. If Kratos' path brings him back to England, I want advance notice. To recruit him. To stay out of his way. Integra crushes her cigar. We can't control him, can't command him, can't even properly communicate with him. He's a force of nature. The best we can do is point him at enemies and hope he doesn't decide we're monsters too. She stands, walking to the window overlooking London. But part of me wonders, when he's killed every monster in Europe, when there's nothing left that needs slaying, what happens to a weapon that can't be put down? No one has an answer. 6 weeks later, Romanian countryside, abandoned village. Kratos walks through empty streets, the Leviathan axe resting on his shoulder, shuttered windows, barricaded doors, livestock slaughtered in their pens, classic vampire territory. He's been hunting for 42 days straight. Belgium, Germany, Austria, Hungary, now Romania, following the trail of dead villages and drained corpses. The vampire responsible is old, powerful, calls himself Voivode, claims to be descended from Dracula's bloodline. Kratos doesn't care about lineage. Just the body count. 17 villages, 432 dead, mostly children and elderly, the vulnerable, the weak, the ones who can't fight back. He reaches the town square. A church stands at the center, doors hanging open, inviting, obvious. Kratos enters anyway. The interior is decorated with corpses, villagers crucified on pews. Blood used to paint religious iconography across walls. The vampire's attempt at artistry through atrocity. You must be him, a voice echoes from the rafters, cultured, aristocratic, the ghost of Sparta, the god-killer, the monster who pretends to be human. Voivode drops from the ceiling, landing in a crouch, ancient vampire, at least 6 centuries old. Power radiates from him like heat from a furnace. I've heard stories about you, how you destroyed Millennium's London forces, how you defeated even Alucard himself, how you walk Europe leaving only ash. The vampire smiles, Howling fangs, I'm honored to face such a legend. Kratos doesn't respond, just unslings the Leviathan axe. Not going to banter, trade threats, explain your tragic backstory. Voivode's smile widens. How disappointingly efficient. You killed children. 4 words spoken flatly, without inflection. But Voivode's smile falters. Because he recognizes the tone. Not anger, not hatred, not righteous fury. Just tired necessity. The tone of someone about to do unpleasant work that nevertheless needs doing. They were food. The Leviathan axe takes his head off mid-sentence. Kratos doesn't wait for regeneration. The blades of chaos appear, hellfire reducing the vampire's body to ash so completely that resurrection becomes impossible. He burns the corpse, burns it again, keeps burning until nothing remains except carbon stains on stone. Then he kneels. Right there in the church, among the crucified villagers. And adds another name to his infinite list. Voivode, 600 years old, killed 432 innocents, destroyed because he mistook survival for permission. His voice is barely a whisper. Another monster I couldn't save, another tragedy I could only end. He stays kneeling for a long time. Outside, villagers who hid during the attack slowly emerge from cellars and forests. They see the smoke rising from the church, understand what it means. The monster is dead. The silent warrior has moved on. They'll never know his name, never thank him properly, never understand that he hates being their savior almost as much as the monsters hated dying. But they're alive. And for Kratos, that has to be enough. 3 months later, London, the same ruined church where Alucard first challenged Kratos. Alucard stands alone in the pre-dawn darkness, staring at the eastern horizon. The monastery has become his retreat, his thinking place, the location where everything he believed about himself shattered. He comes here every morning now, watching the sunrise, something he hasn't done voluntarily in 5 centuries. Siras finds him there as she has for the past week. She doesn't speak, just stands nearby, offering silent company. He was right, Alucard says finally. Master. Kratos about everything. Alucard's voice lacks its usual mockery, just sounds, thoughtful. I surrendered to being a monster because it was easier than fighting. I collected suffering like treasure because I had nothing else to give meaning to immortality. I've spent 500 years existing without living. He turns to look at Siras. But he's lived for probably just as long, carried just as much blood, killed more than I ever will, and he still tries to be human, still chooses mercy when efficiency demands execution, still kneels in ashes and mourns his enemies. Does that make him better than you? Siras asks quietly. Alucard considers this. No, it makes him braver, because continuing to feel after that much trauma requires courage I never possessed. I numbed myself, embraced the monster, made the pain into power. He looks back at the horizon, where dawn bleeds gold across the sky. He feels every death, carries every name, remembers every face, and keeps going anyway. That's not strength, that's something beyond strength, that's. He trails off, searching for the word. Humanity, Siras finishes. Yes, Alucard smiles slightly. Humanity, the thing I traded for power, the thing he refuses to surrender despite having every justification. The sun crests the horizon. Golden light floods the ruined monastery. Alucard doesn't flinch away, doesn't retreat to shadow, just stands there, letting dawn touch his face for the first time in half a millennium. It doesn't burn, the Hellsing seals protect him. But the symbolism remains. Do you think he's happy, Siras asks, out there hunting alone, killing monsters? No, Alucard's voice is certain. I think he's the most miserable creature alive, trapped being exactly what he hates, perfected something that destroys him, carrying guilt that would crush anyone else. He pauses. But I also think he wouldn't trade it, Because the alternative is letting monsters win, letting innocence die, becoming the thing he fought so hard to escape, and he refuses, every day, every death, every moment of exhaustion. Alucard's smile becomes genuine, soft, almost reverent. Perhaps the strongest creature alive isn't the one who never falls. It's the one who falls every day and still chooses to stand back up, who hates what they've become and tries to be better anyway, who carries impossible weight and keeps walking because someone has to. He turns to face Sirras fully. I've spent 5 centuries being the monster everyone expects. Maybe it's time to try being something else. Not human, I'm too far gone for that, but something that remembers why humanity matters, something that values life instead of just ending it. What changed? Sirras asks. He helped me up. Alucard's voice cracks slightly. Why, after defeating me, after proving his superiority, after demonstrating he could erase my existence permanently, he extended his hand and helped me stand, like I still mattered, like I was still worth saving despite everything I've become. Tears, actual tears, the first in 500 years, traced down Alucard's face. No one has done that in so long I forgot it was possible. To be seen as something redeemable instead of just something to kill or fear or use. He wipes the tears away slowly. So I'm going to try, not to be him, I could never be that strong, but to be better than what I've been, to see my enemies as tragedies instead of entertainment, to remember that every vampire was once human, that every monster has a story. Sirras smiles, he'd be proud. He'd probably just add it to his list of burdens. Alucard laughs quietly. Another monster he couldn't quite save but managed to nudge toward redemption. Another weight to carry. Another reason to hate himself. The sun rises higher, light flooding the monastery completely. Alucard stands in full daylight, protected but present, choosing to witness beauty instead of hiding from it. The man who denied hell, he murmurs, not by escaping it, by walking through it every day and refusing to let it change who he chooses to be. Master. Nothing, just understanding something I should have learned centuries ago. Alucard walks toward the exit, Sirras following. That the greatest act of defiance isn't becoming a monster, it's remaining human despite every reason to surrender. He pauses at the door, looking back at the sunrise one last time. Thank you, Kratos, for showing me what true strength looks like. Then he's gone, leaving only shadows and morning light. Location unknown, time unknown. Somewhere in Europe, a silent warrior walks a lonely road. No army, no throne, no kingdom. Only ashes behind him. Villages freed from vampire tyranny, covens destroyed, monsters erased, innocents saved. All of it done by a man who hates violence. All of it carried by someone who wishes he could be anything else. But he keeps walking. Because monsters still exist. Because innocents still need protection. Because choosing to be human means choosing to care, even when caring hurts beyond measure. The Ghost of Sparta walks alone through the darkness. Not because he's brave. Because he's too exhausted to do anything else. And sometimes, in the quiet moments between battles, he wonders if Alucard understood. If the vampire learned what it means to be human. If showing mercy was worth the pain of letting a monster live. Then another village screams. Another monster hunts. Another innocent dies. And Kratos sighs, hefts the Leviathan axe and continues walking. Because that's what weapons do. Even the ones that wish they could be something else.